Okay, good morning, everybody. I have a great pleasure to host and present today Dmitry Galyamin, a former researcher of our institute. Let me go a little bit through his career. He first showed up at the institute to do his bachelor thesis, and somehow he ended up having its master as well, working under a pair of researchers, very tough researchers, Andrei Ibratov and Natasha Abramova, who basically taught him all the chemistry he hadn't picked up during his degree. Later on, he was hunting for a PhD position, and he landed in my group and joined the multidisciplinary team I had put together with the ERC project. That's where Dmitry quickly became the go-to person for anything electrochemistry related. He developed self-powered devices, dug into more fundamental studies, and modeled all sorts of phenomena happening in paper matrices, the base material for our devices. And it was amazing to see how he approached every new idea with such a solid theoretical background. Thanks to that, he could make sense of any weird and unexpected result we came across in the lab. During his PhD, we explored papers, antibodies, nanoparticles. I mean, you really did everything you were asked for with a level of rigor that honestly went way beyond mine. And that's why I always thought Dmitry, not only me, but everybody thought Dmitry was destined to become a top-tier scientist. And it really looked that way because he left CNM for a postdoc at the Institute of Catalysis and Petroleochemistry in Madrid, diving into green hydrogen catalysis, and his contributions kept piling up, strengthening his academic track record. And soon enough, he became an attractive candidate for a project at the Max Planck Center in one of the best cities of Europe, in Berlin. And there he was, publishing Nature papers like churros until the floor is yours. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Neus, but you have said the first 5 minutes of my talk. So, well, that was a spoiler, but anyway, now you broke my talk. Anyway, I'm back home. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you, to explain my journey, and, well, I will say you a bit what Neus said the first 5 minutes, and let's see, okay? Let's see if that works, actually. Yes. So today's talk has a title of From Research to Ecosystem Vision, an Entrepreneurial Electrochemistry Giving Back to the Scientific Community. Well, let's be honest, it says a lot, yet it says nothing at all. I was thinking how or which title to put because I wanted to put all together in one sentence, but was very difficult. Let's just see what we'll see today. Today, well, I want to present ElectroSeek, which is a marketplace platform for the electrochemists or for anyone working in electrochemistry. However, I thought that it would be better if I explained to you how and why I arrived to this point, and I will talk about some bullet points that it gives me this push to go to an entrepreneurship. However, and it can sound a bit weird, I'm more connected now to the scientific community than I was when I was working in a lab. Do you remember that moment? Let's just start with the really beginning. Do you remember that moment when you were finishing the bachelor degree and you were thinking which masters to study? I remember going from the university to home and home university the last year and thinking what to do in with the master. I saw that some masters were more interesting, the other less interesting, but with better jobs, better opportunities, better salaries, but always focused on chemistry. However, one day I had the opportunity to ask to a very high executive of a very big company in Spain, what should I do? And instead of giving a lecture on what can I do, what should I do, he just did a question. Hey, Dmitry, what do you want to be? A lab coat chemist or a tie and suit chemist? Which in Spanish sounds better, this, ¿qué quieres ser? ¿Un químico de bata o de corbata? Wow, I never thought about that because I was only focused on the lab coat, right, as a chemist. But well, I had a problem, and it's that I did really like electrochemistry. Okay, it was, take into account that it was 2014, 2015, and at that moment, electrochemistry was not as prominent as it is now, or at least not as known as it is now. But I remember that I did like it, what I did in the university, and I remember to hear about redox flow batteries, corrosion, glucometers with screen printed electrode. As a bachelor student, that sounds a bit non-understandable, but it started to us creeping up thanks to electric vehicles and energy storage. So my decision was, okay, let's just do the final bachelor thesis in electrochemistry, and then let's decide which master to study to see what it is. I was connected here to this institute where, thanks to a professor of the university, with some former researcher from here, Paco Xavi, who put me in contact with Andrei, Natalia, and also Sergio Brosel, who is here. And thanks to them, I'm very thankful, I decided that maybe from this decision, I will try to be a lab coat, chemist. That moment, I was really thinking that I want to be electrochemist. Okay, so that was the first point of my career on how and why I'm here. Let's see. Of course, I decided to do a master in electrochemistry, on with which I was thinking on to do. I learned a lot about science, about what is electrochemistry, what is science, and also about electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, which helps me a lot in the future, because it's a technique that no one's really like it, but I did it thanks to my supervisors at the moment. And then I had a really good opportunity, as Neo said before. I told you that Neo said the 5 first minutes of my talk. That I had the opportunity to have a PhD with her inside her ER6 project, and it was very interesting. We, like very briefly, we just did it like paper-based devices with the peculiarity that instead of being like true or false, like the pregnancy or COVID test, we wanted to do it self-powered electrochemically to have like this, to monitorize a lot of different concentrations, not only true or false. But well, let's talk about the second point. I did my bachelor and master thesis in one group and PhD in another group inside the same house here at CNM. But the groups, those who are working here, you know, that the groups are totally different, okay? So I came from Natalia or Natasha and Andrei, like traditional academic science, precision, the good experiments, the good, let's say the theory, knowledge. I'm saying in a very good way. I learned a lot from them. And I am very grateful as well to Sergio Brosel, who helped me a lot at that moment. But then I changed to a group with Neos, with the vocabulary was different. Now we were talking about product, market, scalability, well, totally different, okay? So it's not the same Andrei and Juan Pablo than Neus and Natalia, right? So that was a second good point, and I'm really grateful, thankful to them, because in really early stage of my career, I learned these 2 points of view on how to look on science or how to do, one can do science or different, let's say, theories, right? I will talk you also a very interesting point that happened during my PhD, and it was a conversation with Juan Pablo. I needed to do these cutter things, okay? I needed to cut these pieces of paper, and I need to do like with a specific geometry and just put the cutters in a specific. So after a week, I failed. I'm not a very good handyman, okay? So Juan Pablo just said to me, okay, just order one. It will cost to you about 300-400 euros. And I said, yeah, but it's too expensive, right? It's just 3 pieces of metal that needs to be put in a specific geometry. And he said, yes, but do you know how much is the cost of your salary? Because that week you've been doing that and your salary is higher and you are not doing your job inside the laboratory. That made me think a lot, because scientists were very focused on our science, on our lab, but sometimes we underevaluate our time. And this is a point that then in the future we will see, and it will come back. Anyway, I was a student, I was a PhD student, I finished my PhD, or at least the lab thing in the PhD, and I moved to do my postdoc. I moved to Madrid, where I was working with electrocatalysis. For those less familiar, well, I used to do electrocatalysis for hydrogen evolution reaction, oxygen evolution reaction. Anyway, for those less familiar, I was doing this catalyst, and I needed to measure them inside and what is called rotating disk electrode. Okay, we measure this because it's like easier to measure it. You isolate from other things, and you can measure exactly what catalysts do at that moment. The thing is that it's for fundamental study and in lab, let's say, scale, okay? But the reality is that electrocatalysts are used not in this rotating the electrode, but in the industry, they are measured in what we call fuel cells or electrolyzers, like this other devices, okay? So my supervisors there, Sergio and Maria, they told me, okay, let's just start to measure also not only rotating these electrodes, but something close to the industry. And just you see, it's like similar with Andrea and Natalia, and then I moved to Juan Pablo and right? Anyway, the thing is that what we needed is to construct, to buy a lot of things at that moment. When you need to pass from rotating this electrode to these devices, you need to buy not the whole laboratory, of course, but a lot of things. You need to buy a new potentiostat with a booster because you are measuring higher currents. You need to buy all this device. You need to buy all the components of this device. Think about probably, I'm sure that some of you, a lot of you have experienced this thing, that being in the lab, you need to buy a lot of things, and how you end up? You probably end up with a browser and a lot of windows thinking, oh my God, I'm being here in the Google and I need to find all of this, and you are going and then you open all of them and you think, I only need a potentiostat with this. And you end up with this, and it's a really mess, right? Because you're going good. And now with ChatGPT, it's not easier, eh? It's even worse because you are talking and you are there, like talking and talking and talking, and it's asking questions that you didn't know what to answer. But anyway, the problem that I see at that moment, I was struggling a lot, and what I see is that was very inefficient because you're going through Google, you need to know the companies, where the companies and go. Also, when you arrived and you see all the companies, what's the next step? You need to compare all the specifications names that sometimes, at least in electrochemistry, I don't know other fields, sometimes the specs doesn't match between the companies and you're even more lost. And lastly, you need to contact with all of them, explain your project to all of them, and then wait the reply for all of them. Let's just think about our daily life, okay? Let's just put apart the science. What happens in our daily life? If you want to travel to somewhere, you buy a flight tickets, and you're going probably to Skyscanner or similar webpage, and you put from which city to which city you want to go, at what dates. And then it appears a lot of airlines with the prices, with the possibilities you can do. Once you found your flight, you are booking your hotel, and instead of going hotel by hotel during the whole city, you can use Booking or Airbnb. What about to say Amazon? The same, right? For some random reason, in science, we don't have this. We have, okay, Sigma-Aldrich. Sigma-Aldrich, we can go and see all the reagents. It's our, like, us in chemistry. But don't forget that Sigma-Aldrich is one company. It's not that they are joining a lot of companies that put them to compare. They are the company. The thing here is that at that moment, I was thinking, why we don't have something like this in electrochemistry, okay? And so I saw that we don't have that centralized platform. And the thing was that I was still a student, a postdoc, and I was very focused on my career. I want to be a scientist here, as Neo said also before. It really was my focus. And I was probably something that you've heard once, is that if someone would do that, he would be rich, or I would do this very well. But like you're thinking, no, that would be very profitable, but no one is moving, right? Didn't do I as well. So I just keep continuing with my career. But this point also was in my head. So then I moved to Berlin. I was with Professor Beatriz Roldan, who is a very big group in Berlin for electrocatalysis, very well known. I was very happy. I also was supervised by María Monteiro, another very good researcher. And I was very happy, at least the first month. Scientifically, amazing. I learned a lot from both of them, personally as well. But the thing is that after 6 months in Berlin, without seeing the sun, I grew up here. I grew up in Barcelona. So that was weird, and I also personal reasons. But at some point, that something inside my head, a voice appeared saying, okay, maybe it's time to leave academia. I've never thought about that. Well, I thought, but like just random thing. But that moment was like real one, thinking maybe it's time. That was hard. That was a very tough moment in my life. I know it's not a topic of today's talk, but it's because in academia it's like kind of a conversation. But if anyone is interested on how was that moment, we can chat after the talk, because that's said tough. But anyway, at that moment I was very, very, very lost. Okay, very lost. I didn't know what to do exactly. I was very lost, and I was thinking, wait, what to do? And very randomly, I didn't know what to expect. Okay, I just very randomly started to publish on LinkedIn. I knew that something was there. I knew that something I wanted to expect from LinkedIn, something. But what? I don't know. Again, I was lost without seeing the sun, okay? And the only know is like science and being in the lab. So I just started with this. And the first post was what electrochemistry is, no, and what practical applications does it have. So you see, very general, just answering some questions. Again, I didn't know what to expect, but it works. Somehow it works. Then I said, okay, let's just do the second one week after. And I started with the second one. Wow, now I have a lot of impressions, a lot of likes, also a lot of comments. And interestingly is that the comments were about not just, oh, great post, or no, they were like really talking about the topic. It was post about science. And if you can see, it's not about what a counter electrode is. It's about, okay, if you want to use a counter electrode, what is the problem of that? So it's very academic, very specific topic. Then I said, okay, let's just keep continuing. I was still lost, huh? Then let's keep continuing. And then I thought the third one, I had no followers at that moment yet, but I had a lot of impressions, a lot of likes, still more comments, private messages through LinkedIn. I was very happy doing that. But anyway, and as you see, this third post, I was trying what to do, where to go, and I was talking about the topic, let's say what I called electroquímica de pasillo. Okay, the electrochemistry that you are talking through a chat, chatting in a coffee break, because it's not something very specific. It's not something that is written in every paper or in every book. It's like something that everyone knows that is but done on a lot of papers, but should be done well, let's say. Okay, it was not very specific academic. I was very happy. What I didn't know is that I was planting a seed at that moment, and you will see why now. But before, okay, I was lost, and that question from the beginning of the talk came to me again. What should I want to be? A lab coat chemist or a tie and suit chemist? But the thing here is now, maybe some of you are thinking, okay, but if you want to leave academia, you don't need to wear a tie and suit chemist, right? Because you can also go to a private company or to a startup being in any lab, in R&D department. Or, as for example, my colleagues from the PhD, Laura and Anna, they opened their own startup with the results of the PhD. It could be also a possibility, and I would still be a lab coat. But I'm not normal, and I just said, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do something different. And I started to be a freelancer. What did I do? I just was helping companies with electrochemistry. I really loved electrochemistry. I really love it. So that I was just wanted to keep continuing with electrochemistry, but not in the lab. So I was just helping companies and startups. Then, as I said, I was growing seed, this seed reuse, and some people, some scientists, some startups starting to connect with me through LinkedIn saying, hey, we need your help. Well, help. Some of them, they were just that they want hire someone, but for some hours because they didn't want to hire them the whole day, so for the whole hours. Some of the startups, they are very good electrochemists, but they were having some problems. They just need a second and external opinion. Some other startups that they are specifically from biosensing, sorry, but it's like some of them, they are biochemists or analytical chemists that they are using electrochemistry, but they are not electrochemists and they have this problem. They opening startup, they need help. That was also I had some courses from like that and to like that and some other centers that they also asked for my opinion or for my services. Do you remember the conversation with Juan Pablo that we said before, that how much is my cost and I expect better to buy something, I had something similar with one of the startups. He said to me, "Hey, Dmitry, can you help us to buy a potential stat? Which potential stat is that we need? Which characterization? Do you remember, right? The browser and a lot of things." But at that moment, I said, "Hey, of course, I'm the best one. Now I'm expert in this. I'm an entrepreneur. I will do it, and I will do it fast." So after some hours, actually after a couple of days, I said, "Yes, now I have a list of some potential stats that it can be useful to you." But you know that I was charging hourly. That was my salary. I just, after a month, I said, "Oh, I worked so many hours." And then I was thinking, how can I say to him, or maybe I wouldn't, that say to him that just to find which is the best potential stat, which costs roughly 5,000 euros, I need to charge him 500 to say that, just to say, "Hey, this is a list of 8 potentials that can be good for your lab." That was just a push to say to me, "Wow, now is the moment. Now is the moment." Now all these points came to my head. Well, in Hollywood, they would say that was one day I'm here at home saying, "Yeah, yeah, now is the moment." No, it was like a progress. But at some point, all came together. And yes, all these points, okay, I'm the Thai suite, I'm the academic startup, and the scientists have under-evaluated them. We shouldn't lose time on this. Then we need to do this centralized platform. And at the end, it was just do it. I don't know how, but just do it. So that's how I, let's say, started with what's so-called now Electroseek. What is Electroseek? Okay, well, I more or less answered. So Electroseek is that platform that we centralized all the products of electrochemical. That's our idea. That then you don't lose that time. Of course, I couldn't do it alone. I needed someone. So I just found the project with Luis, who is here. So thank you so much. And yes, he's like more leading the part of the webpage, and I'm more like the part of electrochemistry and talking with the companies. But yeah, what's Electroseek, or what we want to solve with this, what we want basically is just to discover, to not lose that time, that you can go to one web page and find all the products that you need, instead of losing that time that we said. For example, let's just very easy one. You're working on biosensing applications. You want a potential stat similar to those that asked for my client. Then you can just see which categories that helps to you. Then you go there, then you have that subcategories, of course, for biosensing application. For those less familiar, you need a less current. So you can go to a low current potential stat. Well, okay, it's fine. You arrive and see a lot of potential stats. Now we have about 50, 40, I guess, and more than 10 companies. Well, still a lot. You can be still lost, but you hadn't lost all that time searching for all these companies and searching for these 50, let's say, windows in your browser. So we need still continuing. What we want to do, the second is comparison, okay? So of course you have 50, you need to still find it. We not only compare, but also we have the technical filters to filter and go to, directly to where you want to go. Let's keep continuing. Imagine that we need that impedance spectroscopy in our potential stat, and you also want to do it portable because you don't want to measure it in the lab, you want to measure it, I don't know, in the field, whatever. So then you're filtering, and then now it appears just for, okay, you found what you want. You're not losing time. In 5 minutes, you have found what you want. Imagine that this is the one you want. You can go, description, just a marketplace, nothing. I have not invented anything, just very easy to understand, but the description, then you have all the specifications, and then you can see what it is. And lastly, you can go request a quote. Here, an interesting point, that request goes directly to the company. We are not distributors. We just put in contact with the company. But one more thing, it's about the contact that, as I said, you are in contact directly with the company. And one more thing, and here a lot of you know that when you need to buy and the cost is more than 5,000 euros, then you need to have different quotations and this thing. So of course, one of the things we did that is, if you want different quotation from different companies or from different products, you can just put them in the cart, and after you have had them, you can go, and with only one message or with only one form, you can send all the information, all to all the companies. It will arrive to all the companies, and then you will wait until they will answer to you. So we started, something I haven't said is that we started about 2 months ago. So we started to do it like 1 year ago, but we opened it 2 months ago. We started with about 20 companies. Now we have 30. We want in our pipeline is that we have more, but instead of growing up, let's say vertically, adding more products of the same type, what we want is to grow up horizontally to continue to have, then you can find exactly what is that you want at any moment. We're very happy how we are now. We're very, very happy. And also the categories, we want to expand them. We want to increase them to be more precise and to have more products that you can find them. Also very interesting points about the custom products, because the custom products is something where in science, it's not to buy a flight or to buy a t-shirt, right? Sometimes you need something specifically for your lab. So if you contact us, we can find you, because a lot of the companies, they are doing custom products. And yeah, some of the things that it's also not easy in electrochemistry, because sometimes you just want a second opinion. Again, it's not like to buy a t-shirt. Sometimes you want a second opinion, or some companies or some groups that are starting with electrochemistry. However, then we have like these services, and you can email us, and it's easy. We will help you very, very good for free. And then we also have like for like very big projects or new labs or new companies, we also had requests to help them. But anyway, I will finish just saying that the idea is, not losing that time, that you can go directly. And it was the thing, the cost of reduction, because you can compare, you can now see a lot of more companies. The most important, and where I think it's very interesting, and I found very interesting way constructing electrocycles, is that not only you can go and find like that reference that you want to buy from different, or and see what other companies are offering, but also some products that you said, oh, wow, I didn't know that that exists. And you just say, I would be very happy having that. And you discover it thanks to our company. And yeah, the help that you can write to us. Well, I think that came to the end, and I just want to say thank you to all of you to coming. I know that some are online now also. Thanks to Luis that helped me a lot with this talk, to Nels for the invitation, and to you for being here. Thank you.